The alcohol industry and its entire value chain say they're facing an enormous financial crisis. The industry now says its capacity to make excise payments is severely constrained, and as such, the SA liquor industry has requested a deferment on the payment of excise over the next 90 days. We're joined by Ntimane, who is the convener of the SA Liquor Traders Association. Good evening, Laki, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, of course, you're talking about this as a result of the announced ban on alcohol. Let's speak about the more immediate impact that it's had on your members and why you believe that a reprieve on the excise duty may in fact be helpful.
Good evening, Kathy, and good evening to your viewers as well. So I do not speak on behalf of the entire liquor industry. Safe to say that we've been consulted by the manufacturers to try and understand the dire situation that they find themselves in. So we understand that they had asked for a reprieve for the month of July and August to the tune of just over 5 billion, because the excise duty is levied on stock that is not even sold. So this is the stock that is sitting in warehouses, and I mean, in all fairness, they cannot, liquor manufacturers cannot be expected to pay excise duty on the stock that's not sold. It's like expecting to milk a cow that's already facing certain death, so that cannot really be expected.
Is this your way of hitting back at the state for not allowing you to sell alcohol?
No, we could never hit back at the state. I mean, this is the government that we are reaching out to. We want to form a working relationship with them, you know, to be social partners in the fight against alcohol abuse and also contribute positively to the country's economy. So no, we're not trying to hit back at the government. It's not possible that we can even begin to imagine that.
So when you talk about the 90-day reprieve, does that mean that you're not necessarily hopeful about the fact that the ban is going to be lifted within the next month or two?
Because this is the stock that's sitting in warehouses and facing potential expiry. That is the risk that I believe that the manufacturers want to cover themselves in. If the president does, accede to our demands and is able then to discuss with us, the conditions and I wish, the liquor ban or suspension, as it were, will be lifted. I think there will be room for further discussions to be had between the manufacturers and government. As we had said earlier, I don't think this is a punishment to government, but it's actually a call. It's a clarion call to government to say, let us work together, let us sit on the table and find a common ground so that we can both address the issues that are being raised on both sides, preserving lives and also preserving livelihoods, as it were.
Let's talk about the impact on the industry overall, because there is a knock-on effect. You might have stock sitting down, but there are many other industries that would be affected by the fact that the sale of alcohol is no longer taking place.
Yes, no, definitely, Kathy. So if you look at the independent liquor traders, they've got about 3,700 stores across the country with 15,000 workers attached to those stores. With regards to taverns, we've got 34,500 taverns and employment linked to that at about 150,000. And if you include the livelihoods, you're talking about a combined number of 350,000. And we've got also people in the value chain. We've got Grain SA affected. We've got Vinpro as well affected. So it's a whole lot of other people that are affected by this. And overall, we've got a value chain that supports over 5 million livelihoods based on 1 million jobs that the industry supports.
The issues that the government has raised under COVID-19 are not new to South Africa. So when we talk about the high trauma cases in our hospitals as a result of people who have been drinking too much or who've been binge drinking, those are figures that even the industry itself has known of. Why have you not been proactive in trying to deal with some of the societal issues that arise from the consumption of alcohol and more importantly, the irresponsible consumption of alcohol?
Liquor manufacturers have actually played a leading role in the fight against alcohol abuse and harm. And we see that in the formation of aware.org, which is responsible for harm reduction programs in the country. And they've done a good job. I think where there's a disconnect, Kathy, is the fact that you've got a well-renowned professor in Charles Perry who has the South African Medical Research Council alcohol unit. He's sitting with information, stats and data that can help the entire industry. But guess what? This guy has not even once reached out to liquor manufacturers. He still continues to refuse to meet with manufacturers to offer the data that he claims to have that will assist the industry. So we're then saying, we are reaching out to him and other fellow scientists that have got solutions to this problem that not only the industry is facing, but the country at large. I think the issue of alcohol abuse and harm doesn't only face manufacturers or traders, but it's a countrywide problem that we have ignored for a long time. I think it's about time that we face up to it now and work together as a collective to fight it once and for all.
But like the research that Professor Perry, that you're speaking about there, has done, it's not secret. We know what part of that data has found. In fact, we also know what the recommendations that he has made to Parliament in terms of what he thinks should be in place with the liquor industry, such as the banning of advertising in the industry, the increasing of the legal drinking age in the country, and also limiting the availability of alcohol in the country. Those are all suggestions that have been made before, which I assume you're well aware of, but we're not seeing the industry respond to it. So we haven't seen manufacturers and different brands come out and say, we're going to stop advertising alcohol, because even our own research, including the research of aware.org, has shown that how alcohol is represented, especially to young people, plays a big role in whether or not they'll consume it.
Thank you for that, Catherine. It's a very important question that you're posing to us. Let me first tackle it on the side of Dr. Charles Perry's research. So he admits that the research was done in Mandela-era government. That was in 1999. That gave rise to the ban that we now face as a liquor industry. So we are being managed on a basis of a 1999 research in 2020, which is a problem on its own. Secondly, Dr. Perry also acknowledges that it took him 2 days, to put the research together to present to government. And that 2 days, we believe, is a desktop research that was not peer-reviewed, that has no basis in science or anything that resembles that. So we are concerned about, the approach that the honorable doctor took, to conduct this research. Also, Kathy, the doctor went on and presented, to the council, issues around increasing tax. When he clearly mentions that, that is not his realm, but now he finds himself, being involved in economics of the liquor industry, which we find highly irregular. In fact, we question, the government's gullibility to taking a research that was done over 2 days to condemn the entire industry, not even the entire sector that employs 1 million people, based, on a knee-jerk, half-baked research. So we take exception to that. We welcome any research that the government wants to produce and put in front of us to say, let us come with a solution to deal with the issues that are before us. But we take exception to a 1999 research being used to address current issues. That was even before the World Cup. That cannot be right.
So you are aware of some of the research that Professor Perry has been conducting?
We are aware of the wrong research and wrong methodology that Mr. Perry did, that arrived at a situation that we find ourselves in, that the president took and made a decision to ban the entire sector on.
But you're still not dealing with the issues that the suggestions have been made. And these suggestions have been put before Parliament about how the industry can also be proactive in helping deal with the binge drinking problem in this country. So, again, banning advertising of alcohol. Is that something that manufacturers and brands are going to be thinking about and actively doing? So would you be looking to ban the advertising of alcohol in order to promote safer use of alcohol in this country?
Kathy, any suggestion or idea that the government, the leadership come up with that will assist the entire industry, will welcome it. But the first starting point there is the government needs to acknowledge that we'd like to meet up with them, because we've been asking for a meeting for 2 months. No one has come back to us. So for them to go to Parliament and making a decision in silo that affects, the livelihood of our members, we take exception to that. We are saying to them, we are waiting for government to come to us and sit down with us to look at possible solutions.
But these are suggestions that have been put on the table long before COVID-19. And again, the point that I'm making is that the industry has not been proactive in trying to also alleviate some of the issues, and that perhaps is part of what also has prompted the response of government to the sale of alcohol, because you have proven over some time that even the suggestions that are on your table, you're not really willing to take up.
I think the commitment to create aware.org was not a government initiative by the industry. That should be looked in a positive light, and we continue to engage with government to roll out some of our high-impact initiatives around gender-based violence, alcohol abuse and harm, and drink and driving. So those are the programs that we've put to government's door to say, let's discuss this. Let's see how we can roll them out. I mean, the manufacturers are willing to fund all of these programs, but government is not willing to talk to us. Charles Perry continues to evade, discussions around these issues because we want to find common ground so that we can have solutions that talk to everyone. But government is closing their doors. They are discussing this in Parliament without involving any of us in these discussions, and we're not happy about them.
All right. Like Ntimane, we're going to leave it there for tonight. He is the convener of the South African Liquor Traders Association.